come back to Johannesburg now. Heavy storms hampered the search for missing people in the Jukskei River drowning tragedy yesterday. 14 people were killed and 3 are still missing in Sunday's flash flood. Johannesburg Emergency Services is hoping for clear weather so the search can resume. Let's get the latest now from reporter Manqoba Mchunu. Manqoba, a little earlier on when we spoke, I think about an hour ago or so, you said that the rescue teams had been able to dive into the river to see if they can find any other person or any other remains. What's happening so far? Have they come back with any positive results?
Well, not so far, Masiko, according to what we're hearing from the team that is here on the ground. But I can certainly tell you, Masiko, that the search and recovery operations are well underway here on this particular river. That's where the congregants are believed to have been swept away on Saturday during that baptism ritual. And in fact, we're told that the reason why the search and recovery teams have now moved further upstream is because of the storm that had hit Gauteng yesterday. They believe that perhaps some of those that may still be trapped in the water may have been pushed by the heavy currents of this river, and therefore that's why they've now moved further upstream, Masiko. That's where they're searching as we speak. The teams are here. We have seen a K9 unit that is here on the ground, as well as members of the search and recovery teams that are here. We know that they're from the Johannesburg city, as well as some of the close by emergency management disaster centers that are here in this particular area. But Maseko, I can tell you so far that according to what we're seeing, they've been using boats to try and scour the water. They've also been walking on foot, looking at shrubs that are here on the river to see perhaps if they could locate any of those that are still missing. But they're also quite unsure at this stage, Maseko, as to really how many people are still missing, given the fact that we were told that there were initially 15 people that had drowned in this incident. We know that emergency officials have managed to recover 14 bodies so far, but we're told that there are 3 families, Masiko, that have come forward to emergency services that have requested them to continue this search, saying that they believe that their family members could still be here in this river. And at this particular point, we understand that this search and recovery operation now will continue, Masiko, well up until emergency services get an indication from the families whether they have been able to locate those that are still unaccounted for. But in terms also of this particular mission, we understand that the Johannesburg Emergency Services saying that it will continue, Masiko. You recall, of course, that yesterday it was halted due to the weather conditions in Johannesburg, where we saw that hailstorm that hits part of the city, as well as a heavy downpours that we saw in Johannesburg. So they have managed to resume this morning, but of course they are doing it carefully. We know that the water may still be strong in some parts of the river due to the storm that took place here in Johannesburg. But as things stand, Masiko, they're here on the ground. They're scouring this particular area. We are in Sandton, and we understand that they're going to be moving further upstream, where they'll be trying to see if they could locate any of those that are still unaccounted for.
Right, Manqoba, and hopefully they are able to continue for the remainder of the day, because we are getting some word from the South African Weather Service that the scenes that we saw yesterday with the rain might persist again today. Have they told you anything about what they plan to do in case that really does happen?
Well, Maseko, they've made it quite clear that, if the weather does change, they're going to call off this search. Of course, yesterday it didn't resume at all. In fact, there was no work that was done yesterday because of the persistent rain, because it does affect the current of the water itself. And so it poses a danger for these, emergency services or officials that are here on the ground when the rain does persist. So if the rain, in fact, or if those heavy downpours return, Maseko, I can certainly tell you that they will consider calling off this search for safety reasons. And they've also issued a warning, Masiko, to residents and churchgoers and churches that also, practice some of these rituals in streams, saying that if they do see that the weather changes, if they do see that there's a storm coming, they need to exercise caution. They need to stay away from these streams because they can be dangerous. In this instance, Masiko, these congregants drowned just moments after going into the river stream. We know that they'd been, there for quite some time. They'd waited for the rain to subside, but when they thought that the rain had subsided, that's when the flash flood came and washed away most of those congregants. So there has been a warning from emergency services to those that, use river streams for rituals like this one, that they need to exercise caution. And I guess also the emergency services, Masiko, will be exercising caution if the weather does change. They may be forced to call off this search.
And just very quickly, Manqoba, a little earlier on you told us about the priest who was assisting emergency services personnel know exactly where to search or exactly how many people to look for, has now gone MIA?
Well, that's what we're hearing, Masiko, from emergency services. In fact, I spoke to the spokesperson earlier on, Robert Mlauzi, who had indicated that, they had been in communication with the priest through cell phone conversations, where they had inquired about some of the details and, after this incident had also occurred, they had been talking to the priest who had been giving them, some of the information as to how many of the congregants were there during that baptism ritual. We understand there were 33 at the time, but as far as the numbers are concerned, they've been trying to ascertain more information as to really how many people could still be here. But they are telling us, Masiko, this morning that it seems as if the pastor has gone AWOL. He's nowhere to be found. His cell phone is no longer going through. So it does appear that he may have perhaps, evaded, this particular search that is going or that is continuing here. We're not quite sure what his reasons are at this particular stage, given that we don't know whether there will be an investigation that will be launched into this particular matter. But I can certainly tell you that from emergency services, they are telling us, Masiko, that the pastor or the prophet, as he's known in Alexandra, is nowhere to be seen for now.
All right, Manqoba Mchunu at the Jukskei River in Johannesburg as emergency services continue with the search of congregants who were attending to a baptism service.